The President, please be seated. The court is now in session. As scheduled and informed to the parties, the chamber is going to hear the testimonies of TCW 488. Before the witness is called to the courtroom, greffier of the trial chamber is instructed to report on the status of presence of the parties to the proceedings and the witness. The greffier: Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honors. All the parties to the proceedings are present, except Mr. Ieng-Sary, who is in his holding cell. Mr. Ieng-Sary has waived his right to be present in the courtroom through his counsel for the whole day. His waiver has already been given to the greffier of the trial chamber. The witness, who is expected to be heard today, TCW 488, is present in the waiting room, awaiting call from the chamber. The witness has taken an oath already on the 29th of May 2012. Mr. Singh Rathi is here also as a duty counsel for the witness. The President, thank you. The chamber has been seized of Mr. Ieng-Sary's waiver through his counsels concerning his request to waive his right to be present in the courtroom. He has asked that he be allowed to observe the proceedings from his holding cell for the whole day due to health reasons. He cannot remain seated long enough in the courtroom, and his claim has been substantiated by the doctor from the Cambodian Soviet Friendship Hospital. Doctor indicates that due to the accused's health reason that he finds it difficult to walk up the steps and that he cannot remain seated long enough in the courtroom, he should be allowed to observe the proceedings from his holding cell. The chamber also notes that Mr. Ieng-Sary has waived his right to be present in the courtroom and that he asked he be allowed to observe the proceedings from his holding cell. So the AV booth officers are now instructed to ensure that the AV equipments are well connected to the holding cell, because the chamber therefore grants such a request so that Mr. Ieng-Sary can observe the proceedings from there for the whole day. Court officer is now instructed to call witness TCW 488 into the courtroom. Court officer is now instructed to hold on because counsels are on their feet. Counsel Kanavas, you may proceed first.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors, and good morning to everyone in and around the courtroom. I have a short request for clarification to one of the rulings yesterday. It will take approximately 2 minutes. It's the ruling that was made on an objection from the prosecution when counsel for Nuon Chea attempted to impeach the witness with his prior testimony, and the trial chamber ruled that it was redundant, it was repetitive, and therefore the objection was sustained. My concerns are that the trial chamber has effectively allowed the prosecution, by taking the lead of the questioning, to act as the judges in this case, which is fine. We believe that we should have the right to ask leading questions. That's been denied. That's fine as well. But now it would appear that if something is raised by the prosecution, the defense cannot revisit that for the purposes of impeaching and confronting a witness on the grounds that it may be repetitive. Now, perhaps there was a misunderstanding. Perhaps it was inartfully phrased on behalf of the parties. But I certainly would ask the trial chamber to consult and to provide us some guidance so that we know how and to what extent we can use testimony that is elicited from either side for the purposes of clarifying or even impeaching. But we strongly we have strong reservations to being curtailed to using testimony that is elicited from the witness from another party, and then not being able to revisit that for the purposes of impeaching. Thank you.
The President, counsel for Nuon Chea, you may now proceed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President. Good morning to everyone. I would like to support the submission made by counsel for Ieng Sary. I believe that yesterday afternoon we were at one point allowed to use evidence given by that particular witness earlier this week and last week. But some clarification is always useful. I just wanted to ask one other question about an email I sent on the 24th of April to the senior legal officer about your publications. I haven't received an answer yet. I asked the senior legal officer to provide me with a list of publications for the judges.
The President, you are not allowed to raise any other issue other than the one being discussed now. The Chamber keeps asking you to give the ground for your point. Now we are discussing about TCW 488, and that the matter could be confined to anything relevant to this. And if counsels are of the opinion that they would raise some issues concerning this particular witness, then the Chamber will entertain such a request. However, if you have any other matters to be addressed, then we recommend that you have it written in writing, and the Chamber will rule on your applications in due course. Any other matters that are not relevant to the subject matter of today's hearing concerning this TCW 488 would not be entertained.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's clear, but it is a request about when we can expect an answer to this written request we made on the 24th of April, which is almost 2 months ago, and we haven't received an answer yet. So it was just a request for clarification as well.
The President, the Chamber indeed will look into this and to rule upon it in due course.
មន្ត្រីរដ្ឋបាលតុលាការ
Court officer is now instructed to call in TCW 488. The President, Judge Katra, you may now proceed.
Yes, thank you, President. Mr. Carnavas, the Chamber is a little unclear about which particular matter you were referring to and does not wish to spend time on that now. However, could you just state with some brevity and clarity in a memo to the senior legal officer, and we will deal with it in that way. Is that acceptable to you?
Yes. The English transcript isn't available, but I believe I could locate the passage and provide it to you.
I think I'm aware of the particular matter to which you refer, but rather than spend time on it now.
Very well.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate that, Your Honor.
The President. Good morning, Mr. Witness. What is your name? Is your name Eun Tan? Response. Yes. Yes, Mr. President. Duty Counsel is now asked to help raise the console a little bit. The President. Mr. Eun Tan, have you used any other names other than this? Response. No, I haven't. Question. Have you ever used the name Chu Tan? Response. Yes, I have. I am using it currently. Question. In your local community, what is your exact name? Eun Tan or Chu Tan? Response. Eun Tan. The President. Thank you. What or how old are you? Response. I was born in 1943, Mr. President. Question. Where do you live? Response. Currently, I live in Don Trak, Samlot, Tasang Commune, Question, what is your occupation? Response, I am a farmer doing some at the plant, working at the plantation. Question, what is your father's name? Response, he is Luom. Question, his last name? Response, no, I don't remember. Question, what is your mother's name? Please wait until you see the red light on your mic before you proceed with your response. What is your mother's name? Response, Lim. Question, how many children do you have? Response, 3 children. Question, what nationality are you? The President, please once again wait until you see the red light before you respond, otherwise your message could not be rendered to everyone. Again, what nationality are you? Response, I am of a Kachak nationality. The President, Mr. Eun Tan, according to the report by the greffier of the trial chamber, you are not related to any parties to the proceedings, in particular the civil parties and the 3 accused persons. Is the statement correct? Response, yes, it is. The President, thank you. According to the same report, the greffier indicated that you already taken an oath yesterday. Is that correct? Response, yes, it is. The President, Mr. Eun Tan, as a witness, the chamber would like to inform you of the rights you have. You have the right not to respond to any questions that you feel your response would be self-incriminating. As a witness, you are to respond to all the questions of the judges of the bench, except any responses that may lead to self-incrimination, and you are to only tell the truth, nothing but the truth. You have to respond to questions with regard to your experience, what you have witnessed and saw during that time. Do you understand these rights and obligations? Response, yes, I do. Question, Mr. Eun Tan, do you write and read Khmer? Response, not very much. Question, how far did you go to school? Response, I could read and write a little. The President, thank you. With regard to the interview you gave to the Office of Co-Investigating Judges, have you ever given any interviews to the investigators of the Co-Investigating Judges Office? Response, yes, I have. Question, How many times did you give such interviews? Response: on one occasion only. Question: where was the interview conducted? Response: it was in Don Truck village. The President: thank you. Before you appear before the chamber, Mr. Eun Tan, have you read, reviewed the records of the interviews you gave before the investigators to refresh your memory? Response: I have read the documents, but I do not remember everything because my memory is not good. Question: do you confirm that the statement you read, the statement you gave before the co-investigating judges, confirm the statement you really made before them? Response: yes, I do. Next, the chamber would like to inform the prosecution that to begin with, the prosecutors will be handed over the floor to put questions to this witness. You may now proceed. Mr. Wainwright. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, my learned colleagues. And good morning to everyone who is observing these proceedings in the public gallery. Good morning, Mr. Eun Tan. I am Wayne Hot from the Office of Co-Prosecutors. Do you hear me? Response: yes, I do. Thank you. Now, I would like to put a few questions to you concerning the local administration structure in order to help you understand the questions. I will use the very simplified language. My first question is, do you know when did you get to know the revolutionary movement in your local community? Response: it was in 1968. Question: where did you first join the revolution, and how old were you back then? Response: I joined the revolution on the 2nd of March, 1968. Question: where, please? Response: it was in Nai village, Talao commune, Andong Mia district, Mondulkiri, or rather Ratanakiri province. Question: were you informed of the purpose of joining the revolution at the outset? Response. At the beginning, I noted that a lot of people joined the revolution, and I was inspired by the others who joined the revolution as well. Question. Did you or were you ever told the motive behind joining the revolution? Response. No, I wasn't. Question. I may need some clarification. When you joined the revolution, who introduced you to the revolution? Response. It was Kong Dang, the secretary of the district, who introduced me to the revolution. Question. You mentioned the person by the name of Dang. Dang was the secretary of the district. Is it correct? The President. Witness, please hold on until you see the red mic, the red light on the mic before you respond. Question. I repeat my question. At that time, was there a district structure, and that there would be someone in charge of the committee, and this committee inducted people into the revolutionary. Is that correct? Response. Kong Dang was the district committee who inducted me into the revolution. Question. Was your biography checked or verified when you joined the revolution at the beginning? Response. Yes, it was. Question. What was the criteria behind the recruitment? Response. There was no proper criteria. As long as we volunteered to join the revolution, then we were accepted. Question. When you joined the revolution, in your unit, who was your leader, and in which unit were you in? Response. At that time, I don't think I catch I got your question. Please repeat it. Prosecutor. Thank you, Mr. Tan. I will now repeat. When you joined the revolution at the beginning, what was your leader's name? If you can also identify the names of the deputies, you can tell us, and also the name of the unit. Response. Pai was the person who led me into the messenger section.
Thank you. So you were put in the messenger unit Once you were there, was there any criticism and self-criticism meeting? Response. After our work, there were meetings during which we were instructed as to how to deliver the message. Question. Was a messenger asked to deliver letters, or was a messenger also taught as to how to spy people during the meeting? Response. We were supposed to deliver letters. Question. How about telegram? Do you know anything about telegrams? Response. I have heard of that. People talked about that. Question. Regarding the teaching as to how to deliver letters, were you also taught of the importance of being a messenger as to spy individuals within the party? Response. No, I was not taught. I was to deliver, for example, letters from Mr. A to Mr. B. Question. Now I would like to ask you about administrative bodies. Do you know, prior to 1975, in liberated areas, were there classifications of security officers, cooperatives? Response. I only heard people say that there were cooperatives, there were sector and zones. I only heard of that. Question. Thank you, Mr. Tan. Did Angka teach you about the importance of such administration as to facilitate the delivery of messages from the upper levels to the locals? Response. I do not know about that because my group's work was to deliver messages only. We are not aware of any other matter. Thank you. What was you responsible for between 1965 and 1970? Response. In 1970, I was responsible for the messenger unit, and my work continued to be like this. Question. Besides delivering messages, what was the relationship within the messenger unit? Response: there was no other relationship. Question: as a messenger, were you taught about the meaning of being a messenger? Response: the meaning of being a messenger was that I was to deliver a message, for example, from one person or one location to another, and that person or that other location deliver further to the other destination. Question: were you ever told to deliver to any particular ministry or office, or to any sector, any zone? Response: no, I was not. Question: in the content of each letter that you delivered, that you mentioned earlier, did you examine the content of each letter that you delivered? Did you learn that arrests of people were mentioned in the letter? Response: I was not aware of the letter. During the time I was illiterate, so I could not read. I only delivered the letter. Once the letter was delivered, I came back. Question: during the times that you work as a messenger, my question will touch upon your leader. During 1970, did you work as a messenger or did you work as something else? Response: in 1970, I worked as a messenger. I always delivered letters. Question: after 1970, what did you do? Response: after 1970, I also worked as a messenger. Question: did you ever work as a security guard? Response: a messenger was attached to the bodyguards. Question: did you know this code name of Paul? Did you know the name Paul? Response: I did not know about that at that time. A question: did you ever hear about Noon? Response: yes, I did. Question: what was his full name? Response: it was Noon Chia. Question: did you know the code name of Brother One? One brother. Response: One was Mr. Ieng Sary. Question: did you know him in 1975? Response: I know him is Kilsampon. Question: now you mentioned that you know the leaders. You know Noon, you know One, you know Haim. Did you know at the time of their role? Response: I did not know their roles. Question: when the leaders traveled as you as a security guard, did you go with them? Response: as a security guard, we alternated our work. Sometimes I went with them, sometimes others went with them. Sometimes I worked at the base. Question: you said as a security guard you went with your leaders to the base. Can you tell us the name of your leaders? Response: it was Pol Pot. Question: did Pol Pot went to zone or sector, or which zone or which sector? Response: he went to sectors, to districts, also to zones. Question: I would like you to explain further as to what zone, what districts, what sectors did Pol Pot went to. Response: he went to Siem Reap sector, Battambang, Posat, Kampong Chenang, and that's all. Question: as a security guard, when leaders met together, were security guards asked to guard those leaders? Response: when they worked, the security guards were told to stay about 20 meters away from them. A question: from what you saw, who participated in the meeting? Response: I knew very few. I knew Ieng Sary, Nuon Chea, and Kilsampon, but I did not know others. Question: so you said during the meeting there were Ieng Sary, Nuon Chea, and Kilsampon, and you said that you were supposed to be 20 meters away from the meeting, but Did you know what the meeting was about? Response: No, I did not know. I was far away from them. Question: Was you ever a bodyguard of Mr. Ieng Sari? Response: No, I was not. I will now move on to ask you about your assistant, your political assistant, prior to 1975. Did you know Cain, alias Lin? Response: Yes, I know him. I know Cain, alias Lin. Question: Do you know what role did Cain alias Lin had in the Communist Party of Cambodia? Response: Lin was the chief of messenger unit at K7. Question: And do you know Bang? Response: Yes, I do. Question: What was Bang responsible for? Response: Bang was responsible generally for Office 870. Question. President interrupts. Can the co-prosecutor be reminded as to set the time frame in relation to the questions asked to the witness? Do you stick to the period before 1975? Because initially you did state that your questions will touch upon the period before 1970, but your later question seems to touch upon other issues. Prosecutor: Thank you, Mr. President, for your reminder. Mr. Witness, I would like to ask you again. You said of Office 870, the office that Bang was responsible for. Where was this office before 1970? Response: Before 1975, says the witness, the office was located in Kampong Cham province. Question. Thank you, witness. Now I would like to ask you about the administration and logistics. And the purpose of my questions, the focus rather of the question, will be before 1975. Do you know what people at K offices do? Response: no, I never know about that. Question: you said earlier, before 1975, that you were a messenger at a K office. Rather, you said Lin was the chief of K7. Now my question is that, was there any other K offices, for example K1, K2 or K3? Response: I only know that there was K1, K7 and K3. I do not know anything else. Question: you just told the chamber that office, that you know about office 870. What did office 870 do? Response: I do not know what the office did. Question: before 1975, did you know about S71 as a secret office? Response: I never heard of it. Question: thank you. Did you know about Office 100 and Office 102? Response: I never heard of these offices. Question: did you hear of B5? Response: I am not sure about that. I don't think I ever heard of that. A question: thank you. I would like to move on to another question, because you used to work as both a messenger and a bodyguard, and you said just now that you were close to Nuon Chia, Ieng Sari, Keo Sampon, and you saw them attending the meeting, and you were about 20 meters away from them. My question is, did you ever hear of the word a revolution, and what does that mean? Response: I only heard of the word, but I do not know of the meaning of the word revolution. I only joined the revolution. Question: did you ever hear of the word revolutionary dictatorship? Response: I never understood, I never knew about the word as an ethnic minority. Question: when you were taught, did you hear people say about the word revolutionary dictatorship? Response: no, I never heard I personally never heard that. Question. Another word used is the word smash. Did you ever hear of this word? Response. I was never told of this issue. I was under the order of others. I was working with the messenger unit and the plantation unit, so I was never told of that. Questions. Did you ever hear of the word 3 tons? Response. I heard of the phrase 3 tons. Question. What was the phrase used for? Response. It refers to the productions of rice or other agricultural products, that is to produce 3 tons. Question. I would like to ask you about the enemy of the revolution. Was it only Lunol who were referred to as enemies, or any other kinds of enemies were also referred to as enemies? Response. I did not know anything about the Lunol period. The question is, did you ever hear of the word oppression? Response. I heard people say about the word oppression against the poor by the rich. The question. What classes were being discussed at the time? Response. The class was the peasants class. Question. I want to ask you again. You said you heard of the word oppressive class. My question is, was the oppressive class referred to the Lunol people? Can you elaborate on this issue? Response. I only heard of that. I never knew particularly of this issue as an ethnic minority. I never knew about this. Question. Did you know that when Lunol soldiers were arrested, where were they brought to? Response. I never knew about that. The President. Yes, Council, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hesitate to interrupt, but the questions are leading. They're suggesting facts that are not in evidence from this particular witness, and they do have a leading nature. And I think that some of the questions may be above the position that this gentleman held at the time. Perhaps it could be more focused. There is no need to try the entire case through every witness. Some questions or some facts have already been established, and therefore we could be much more efficient if we just target the questions for the particular witness and for the reasons why the witness is here to give evidence. Thank you.
The President. Thank you, Council, for the observation, and the Chamber also notes that Council objection is normally belated because it would be better if counsel is on his feet to raise the objection when witness or when the questions are not appropriate, so that the issue can be addressed immediately. And co-prosecutor is also reminded to rephrase the questions to this witness, in particular the terms a co-prosecutor are using. The prosecutor must be mindful. The questions should also be based on the basis of knowledge the witness already has, in particular the statement that he already made before the co-investigating judges. Then co-prosecutor should frame the questions in that scope of issue in case file 002. For example, in the case of the witness who testified yesterday, we need to make the question concerning his statement made before the co-investigating judges. For example, the facts relevant to portions of the paragraphs in the indictment, and that the questions shall always be framed to cover those scopes of the facts. You are not here on your feet to put questions for the sake of asking questions, because questions are to be put in order for the chamber to find out the truth, and they must be confined to the scope of the facts at issue. Co-prosecutor is now again instructed to be mindful of this and ensure that the questions be put properly, and indeed the prosecutors will not be granted more time if they haven't put enough good questions to the witness for this. Co-prosecutor: thank you, Mr. President. I do not object to any of your observation, but the President interrupts. Please move on to the next questions and avoid putting questions that are repetitive, hypothetical, questions that are out of the scope of the fact. And the questions shall be short and precise, so that the witness with this background of knowledge be able to respond to them. Questions that look nice but witness cannot respond would not be recommended.
ខ្ញុំសួស្តីលោកហ៊ុនតា
Mr. Co-Prosecutor, good morning, Mr. Untan. Again, we know that you worked as a guard, so you are familiar with the military principle. May I ask you, do you understand the term in and outside of the rank? Response: I did not understand these terms. I don't think I know this. Question: when you were taught, were you ever taught or had you ever heard about the revolutionary flags and youth flags magazines? Response: I have seen them. Question. Have you ever heard of the term cooperative? Response. I know about this. Question. What was cooperative for? Response. Cooperative is the place where people transplanted rice, grew vegetables, and communal eating. Question. What about mobile unit? What was it referred to? Response. Mobile unit was meant for people to build dams, dig canals, and paddy fields embankments. Question. Have you ever ferried messages to the children mobile units? Response. No, I never. Question. Have you ever heard the term mobile unit, the children mobile unit? Response. Yes. Question. What is it referred to? Question. Response. I don't know. Question. Did you ever deliver letters concerning marriages of disabled people? Response. No, I didn't. Question. Have you ever heard that there were marriages during the regime? Response. Yes, I have. Question. Have you ever heard of the term immoral misconduct? Response. Yes, I have. Question. What does this mean to you, and did people commit immoral misconducts a lot at your unit? Response. Moral misconduct referred to the actions that damaged the properties of the people, the livestock of the villagers, and people who committed such wrongdoings would be called for re-education. Question. Have you ever had any moral or immoral conduct concerning women? Response. No, I haven't heard anything about this. Question. As a guard and as a messenger, when you delivered messages or letters, have you ever noted the term reactionary in any of the letters? Counsel, you may proceed, says the President, and witness is instructed to hold on.
Thank you, Mr. President. In light of your admonition earlier, I will be standing up and objecting each and every time. The question was already asked and answered. The gentleman indicated that he could not read at the time. That was posed twice. Now he's being asked whether he saw something in a letter, which obviously he could not read, and has indicated already that he's never opened. So the question is not only repetitive, but it's utterly ridiculous. Thank you.
The President, Co-Prosecutor, you may now continue. Ensure that the mic is activated before you proceed. Counsel Wing Hort, I think my question was about whether he read or heard. The President interrupts. Counsel Kanawat's objection is sustained. Witness is not instructed to respond to this question because it leads us to no way to ascertaining the truth. By answering to such question, co-prosecutor is now instructed to rephrase the question and make sure that all the questions are in the confinement of the scope of the fact, and only questions are allowed to put to the extent that the witness is able to explain or to respond with his knowledge of the events, and that the events shall be in the ambit of 1975 to the 6th of January 1979. The President, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, make sure your mic is on. I think that you have been in the courtroom time and again. You should get used to it already. Mr. Co-Prosecutor, thank you, Mr. President. I think I would skip a few questions and I will move to the period of 1975 instead. On the 17th of April 1975, question, where were you? Response, in 1975, I was in Trapang Tam village, Kampong Cham province. Question, were you aware of the evacuation of the population of Phnom Penh? Response, no, I wasn't. I was in Kampong Cham. Co-Prosecutor, I have no more questions to put to this witness. I thank you, Mr. President, and your honors for giving guidance to me, and thank you very much for the advice and by counsels, Canavas and other counsels. Mr. Uan Tan, I have no more questions to you, but my colleague will have a few more questions to be put to you. Thank you very much. The President, thank you. International Co-Prosecutor, you may now continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honours. Good morning, Council. And good morning, Mr. Uan Tan. Thank you for coming here to assist the court. My name is Tariq Abdulhaq. I'm a member of the team of the co-prosecutors, and I will ask you a few more questions in addition to the questions that my colleague has already asked. And I would just like to spend a very short amount of time on the pre-75 to see if we can additionally clarify some of the facts you've already given. You joined the revolution in Ratnakiri, and you also testified as to your responsibilities after that, after joining. How long did you stay in Ratnakiri, and did you go anywhere else after that region?
Response, I was in Ratnakiri in 1968 until 1970 when I moved to Kampong Cham.
Thank you very much. And when you moved to Kampong Cham, you said to us, I think, that you then lived in a village called Trapang Tim. Could you tell the court which district, if you recall, or which area this village is located in?
Response. Tropang Tam village is located in Kampong Cham, but I don't remember the district's name.
Very well, thank you. You mentioned that you guarded from time to time meetings of Yingsari, Nunchia, Sampan, and others who you didn't know. Did Pol Pot also participate in these meetings?
Response. Yes, he did. I saw Pol Pot chairing the meetings.
Thank you. How often did these meetings take place?
Response. Sometimes the meeting took the whole day.
And how often was it, if you recall, weekly, monthly, several times a week? Do you recall how often they met?
Response. The meeting was conducted 3 to 4 times a month.
Thank you. In this period, do you recall at all, or were you ever present in a village called Dang Da?
Response. No, I don't.
Thank you. You said to us that you observed these meetings, and could you just additionally tell us, as far as you recall, did Nunchia, Yingsari, Sampan continue to meet and stay in this area, or did any of them leave at any point?
Response. So far as I remember, they had the meeting at the same place.
And where did they live?
Response. They lived. I'm sorry. Could you please indicate from which year to which year, please?
Thank you. You said to us from 1970 you were in Kampong Cham, and I understood that this is the area where the meetings were taking place. Are you able to tell us where these individuals lived at the time?
Response. At that time, they gathered in Tropang Tam village of Kampong Cham.
I know we're discussing events which took place a long time ago, but I'll just ask you about one more location, and you tell me if you recall ever attending or guarding any meetings there. A village called Miak in Prek Commune in Kampong Cham. Did you ever accompany the leaders to meetings in that area?
បាទខ្ញុំអត់ធ្លាប់ទេ
Response: No.
Thank you. When you travelled from Ratnakiri to the Kampong Cham area, who did you travel with?
បាទ
Response: From Ratnakiri to Kampong Cham, I traveled with Pol Pot and Pang.
Do you recall what position Pong held at this time?
Response: Pang was overly in charge of the group in Kampong Cham.
Thank you. And when was the first time that you saw Nuon Chia, Khieu Sampong, and Ying Siri?
បាទខ្ញុំ
Response: In mid of 1970, I saw them. I saw Nuon Chia and Khieu Sampong.
What about Ying Siri? Did you meet him in Kampong Cham, or did you know him before then?
បាទ
Response: I met Ying Siri at Ratnakiri.
Do you recall what position he held?
Response: No, I don't.
And do you know when it was that he travelled to Kampong Cham, where you also saw him attending meetings with the other leaders?
Response: Ying Sari, Nuon Chia, Khieu Sampong, and Pol Pot came all together to meet in Kampong Cham.
So you travelled with Pol Pot and Pong from Ratnakiri. Did Ying Siri travel in that group or separately?
Response: Separately.
Thank you. As far as you recall, did Ying Siri stay in Kampong Cham until 1975 throughout that period?
Response: Only until Phnom Penh was liberated that I saw him in.
If I can just clarify that, does that mean that the next time you saw him was Phnom Penh was liberated? Is that what you're telling us?
បាទ
Response: Yes, it is.
So he left Kampong Cham, if I understood you correctly, at some point. Do you recall when he left Kampong Cham and where he went?
បាទ
Response: No, I don't remember this.
And just one more question on this, Mr. Tan. You said Ying Siri left Kampong Cham, and you next saw him after the fall of Phnom Penh. Did you said to us earlier that you saw these men meeting together in Kampong Cham. Does that mean that he, although he left in 1970, that he returned for some meetings? Did I understand that correctly?
Response. Later on, they came to meet all together in Phnom Penh.
I'm sorry, I do want to leave this issue, but just because there's a little bit of, I think, a lack of clarity. You told us earlier that you saw Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, Khieu Samphan, and Ieng Sary meeting in the Kampong Cham area, and you also said that Ieng Sary left Kampong Cham, and then you saw him in Phnom Penh. Does that mean, as far as you recall, that you only recall seeing Ieng Sary in those early months in 1970, or you never saw him later? Is that your evidence?
Response. I never met him again at a later date.
Thank you. Just a couple of very quick clarifications. You told my colleague that you were a messenger, and also later on you were a guard. Do you recall when it was that you became a guard?
Response. I became a guard in 1970 through 1975, and even all the way to 1976, 1977, we were in a group of 30 people who were tasked with guarding and growing vegetables.
And who was it that appointed you a guard, Mr. Tan?
Response. It was Pong who assigned me this task.
And do I understand correctly from your evidence that you generally guarded Pol Pot and other leaders? Was that your general job?
Response. Yes, it was. During meetings, I were tasked with guarding the vicinity of the meeting places.
And when did you cease or stop working as a guard? You said to us that you continued into 1975, 76 and 1977. Did you continue to work as a guard after that period as well?
I ceased to work as a bodyguard when the Vietnamese came into the country.
So you worked for Pol Pot and the other leaders for approximately 9 years as a guard.
President.
Yes, counsel, you may proceed.
I don't know if this is deliberate or just this is misspeaking. The gentleman never said that he worked for the others. He's repeatedly saying what he did. And I think it's somewhat misleading. And so perhaps, I don't want to read too much into it, but perhaps it could be rephrased to be more correct. Thank you.
I take the point, Mr. President. I think it's a valid point. I will just clarify that with the witness. Mr. Tan, whose guard were you? Were you working directly for Pol Pot, or were you working for other people?
I was only guarding Pol Pot. As for Nuon Chea, Ieng Sary and Khieu Samphan, they were living in a different house. The President, thank you. It is now appropriate for us to take a 20-minute break. We will now break until 10:50. The court officer is instructed to accommodate the witness and his duty counsel and to return them to the courtroom at 10:50. The court is now adjourned.
សូមយើងក្រោកឈរ